about that a little. It should refer us back to the previous paragraph, tell us what we're about to talk about, and show the relationship between those two things. And this is a good example of that. Although metaphors may be difficult at times, when they are understood, they can have beautiful meaning and be very pleasurable and entertaining for a reader. That is, to me, like a model bridge. Metaphors being difficult refers to what this paragraph was about, and being beautiful and pleasurable and entertaining refer to what this paragraph is about. So we have a reference back to the previous paragraph. We know what our claim is for this paragraph, that metaphors can be pleasurable and entertaining. And we have the relationship between the two ideas of contrast. Although metaphors are difficult, actually it's a not a rich relationship. Once you do understand them, then they're very pleasurable. So it's sort of ultimately what we have is both a contrast and a kind of a cause-effect relationship. The contrast is between difficulty and pleasure, and the cause effect is once you understand, then you get the pleasure. And so that's a very packed and really good bridge sentence. That's a perfect example of one. It refers back to the previous paragraph, it refers forward to the new paragraph, and it shows the relationship between the two. Also, it sticks with the thesis or the topic, which is how does metaphor work, or what does metaphor do? Something like that. So, okay, and then to show one that's maybe not so good or that could be worked on. Uh, so like this one, Sigmund Freud's dreams theories were also found in poetry and helped aid in understanding the author's underlying meanings. Well, also is a pretty, I mean, sometimes you have to use it, but it's pretty weak. It just says, now let me tell you something else, instead of what the relationship is between the two. So there's a case where what I feel like is Bailey is putting that in because the assignment asked for it, but she just put it in its own paragraph without kind of like, well, how could I make that fit with my overall argument and find a way to make it look like you didn't just put it there because I asked you to. And so if we look at the previous paragraphs about emotional and amusement, could you say, because this is about manifest and, is it? Let's see. Yeah, latent and manifest. Maybe you could say something like part of what gives metaphors their power is the way that they have double meanings or something like that, right? So then because you've been talking about their power, and so then you go from power to the idea that they have double meanings, and then that allows you to talk about manifest and latent. So I'm not writing you guys notes, I'm just talking, but this is the sort of thing you could, put little comments on. So yeah, we could definitely do some work on that. So what is it? I've got here. This bridge. Um, try for deeper bridge. How does latent and manifest relate to the pleasures of poetry, of metaphors? Oh, and that's another thing I noticed is are we still focusing on metaphors? The reason I ask is if you look here, the word metaphor isn't in that sentence. So we seem now to be talking, we want to remember that our focus is on metaphors. So I would say probably we almost want the word metaphor in the beginning of every paragraph, because that's what the whole paper is supposed to be about, is metaphors. So, and by the way, we're playing a little fast and loose because a lot of you and a lot of us, and me too, are talking about similes as if they're metaphors. But similes when you use like. So, okay, I need to hurry this up. I think you guys get the idea. I just want to, I want to explain a few things to you. Raising and dealing with objections. Actually, I did raise an objection already. And nicely, she does raise an objection. Yeah, good job with Crystal. Remember, she raised Crystal's point and then she disagreed. But I could say, but see my, I misspelled Crystal's name. But see my my argument with you about the meaning of I could not stop for death. Okay. So, yeah, quotations. I want you guys, I'm going to just hurry You guys should look at the file. Let me see if she does one right. Claimed that I believe. One thing I showed you is you need to put those slashes in. Claim that I believe Mervin's metaphor. Oh, by the way, when you put quotes inside quotes, you make them singles. So quotes and quotes. Whoa, got that wrong. Singles. So it goes like double, single, single, double. I know it's hard to see that. So okay. So anyway, I'd write about that. You want to look at. There's a handout. You want to study that. Okay. I relayed this opinion in my discussion board post. Okay. Here you have an introduction with a complete sentence. So actually, it should be like this: post colon quote Merwin. And there's the 3 ways to connect quotes to your own sentences. And so review quotation handout, or whatever you want to call it, file. Okay. Likewise, at the end, needs parenthetical references to page numbers and line numbers. And probably that Bailey just hasn't put that in because she's in a hurry. She's probably planning to, and that's the other thing. Actually, it's a good thing for me to remember. This is a draft, so mention things like that. But you know, at some level, you got to presume that they're still going to put some of that stuff in. Summary and review. And here's where I want you to write out whether you get, after now that you've worked on it, do you get a sense of the whole paper? And you might have to reread it. And I'm not going to write it for the sake of time, but here's what I get: that she's asking, do we get the question? Because here's what it says over here. I think the key question that the essay explores is this. Well, I know that it's some. If I can remember myself now, it's how do metaphors work? And let me look back to page 87. To write an essay on the way metaphors work in poetry. So she's talking about how metaphors work in poetry. That's the assignment. Let me see if she gets. And to express their thoughts. Yeah, she does. She really hits it pretty. She does kind of preview it in that first paragraph, doesn't she? I'm not sure if you didn't know already that you could tell what the question was exactly. At the end, she really adds it all up, doesn't she? I don't know if she needs that very last paragraph, but let's see. Oh no, source of entertainment, emotions, difficulty, interesting. Yeah, see, she kind of sums it all up. So there we could say that's the main idea. And then we could go through each paragraph and see what it does. And we've kind of already done that. This one's about difficulty. This one's about emotion and amusement. This one is about manifest and latent. But again, how does that tie to this other thing? Yeah, so that's where I see, we need to work on some unity there. Likewise here. What's our claim? Or what's this about? Maybe this is about the way that metaphors can be interpreted in more than one way. And I think she says that, yeah. But here's what I'd like you to do. Take a line like this, and that's what I say, is like find the claim, and then see if you can put it up here at the top. Put this at the top of the paragraph. So if you said... one of the most powerful things about metaphors is that they can be interpreted in multiple ways. In our discussion board, see, if you put that there, now we don't have to wait to the end to know what you're talking about. We already know what you're talking about. So then when we read your example here about you versus Crystal, you being Bailey, then we already know what we're looking for in the paragraph. So wherever that went. Yeah, so I think there's an opportunity there's a lot of opportunities to improve this paragraph. Well, actually, it's this paragraph down here. Probably both of those. So I kind of got up to my summary and some ideas there. Okay, so I didn't write in everything, but you guys saw me do that. I do want to go back and say something about the flea. If you're going to make this claim about the flea, wherever it went, somewhere I think you had a claim about the flea. I think you need to go a little further into, oh yeah, here. So your claim here is that the flea's sin will basically be his death, though he feels as if the flea has killed them all. There I would, go into why, and the reason, is if we look at that, that's a tough old poem, but man, as somebody else said, I think De Ciencia, I kind of glanced at her paper, You could write a whole, yes, you could write a whole paper on this poem. You could write a whole book on it probably, but is that, the flea mixed their blood, right? Well, isn't that what would happen if they had sex in a way? But isn't it also what would happen if she were pregnant? What is this poem really about? What is she about to kill? Ooh. Uh, yeah, I mean, um, I think there's a lot of things the flea could stand for. It could, Bailey's idea that it stands for like another lover uh, is interesting. Would that work with a line like, though use make you apt to kill me? Use meaning like your habits. So your habits, this is line 16, make you apt to kill me. Let not to that self-murder added be. That is, if she kills the flea, is she killing herself? Would that happen if she were to kill or dismiss her other lover or something? Would that still be self-murder? Maybe. So what is the flea there? Maybe. So I think that Bailey. My general point I might make at the end is Bailey's on her way to providing evidence, but she wants to really unpack what the metaphors are, explain the metaphors. Pretend like you're writing this for your little brother or something. You really got to explain it. And two, support your claims by finding more from the poem that can build on what you've already seen to try to back up your interpretation with more evidence from the poem a lot. So, but this is a good start. Thanks, Bailey, for letting me do this with your paper. Okay, and I hope this helps everybody. What does this take? It takes what, a solid hour, I'd say, at least, to do one of these, and I'm just asking you to do two, so that's a couple hours. And notice, I think it's really important that you probably read the whole thing aloud. You can't hit everything, but you do want to give them good suggestions in each of those 7 columns. All right? So, I'm just going to say work on more evidence for claims, and tie the paragraph about about latent and manifest into your topics. So what's the point of that? Is it because that adds to the pleasure? How does it tie into your thesis? Yeah, into your thesis. Yeah, how does the thing about latent and manifest tie into your thesis? Don't lose track of that. And about how metaphors work. So, okay, well, they work by having a latent meaning and a manifest meaning. All right, I'm gonna stop. Bye, everybody. Thanks. That's probably a long one. If I can find it.